Hello, I'm TheZOMBIEJ, and it's time for another video regarding music, specifically metal. Well, it's time for me to move on. It's a little silly, I feel, but it's time for me to move on from heavy metal because, well, let's explain. One thing I neglected to mention in the video yesterday, watch that before watching this one if you haven't already, is lyricism. Sometimes the lyricism is repetitious and annoying. And with some bands, they can get away with it. Others, begs the question of, can I take this seriously? You know, with bands like Cannibal Corpse and Suffocation, they touch base on the same topics over and over and over again. It gets repetitive, it gets annoying. At least Cannibal Corpse is consistent, and while that's great, musically and lyrically they're consistent, sometimes that can be a drawback, you know? And, you know, one of the things I hate about some metal bands, and pretty much all the metal bands touch base on religion and politics. It's like, I don't want to hear this crap. I don't want to hear anything about religion. I don't want to hear anything about politics. I don't care enough. It's like, I'd rather be listening to something else. I'd rather be listening to a rock album, or a J-rock album from Lenny Code Fiction, Montage. Check it out. Than listen to a thrash metal band bitch about fucking politics. I'm sick of it. I'm sick and tired of this crap. I'm done listening to it. It's like, you know, I get some of it's important, but at the same time, it's just too much to handle, you know? It's a little overbearing, and it's just kind of ridiculous sometimes. I'm just sick of hearing about it. You know, sometimes I'd rather just, you know, sink into my own little world in my head and just shut this shit out, you know? And, you know, the music is still great, but it just gets overbearing at times. A little over the loss of words here. It's just too much, you know. Sometimes the lyricism can really bring something down for someone like me, for example. Like other things, you know, like gore, violence, homicide. Yeah, that's pretty controversial lyricism topics to make lyrics out of, and that's, you know, a lot of death metal bands tend to do that. A lot of thrash metal, a lot of black metal bands tend to do that, and that's fine, I guess. Sometimes it feels a little, like, especially nowadays, there seems to be a lacking of originality. And that's another thing that really I mentioned in the last video, is that there's a lacking of originality in some of these bands' music, especially new bands that are seemingly copying what older bands have done previously. And with older bands like Overkill, it seems like, while yes, they do still kick a lot of ass after this recent album, Scorched, really did, you know, exceed expectations after The Wings of War was released in 2019. That was a pretty awesome album, but it feels like Scorched was trying to, they constantly seem to be outdoing themselves, and it seems like over and over and over, it feels like the same tired ideas, but yet Bobby Blitz Ellsworth still sounds like a fucking machine. He's still able to kick a lot of ass. But the problem is, you can only do that for so long before it starts to sound a little monotonous. And that's another problem that I have with metal, is that there seems to be a lot of monotony here and there. A lot of, I listen to the material, and I get the same monochromatic feel that I would when, you know, I listen to some rock bands that sort of feel a little bit too monochrome, a little too repetitive, a little too passe, a little just, inaccessible to some extent. And I know there are probably bands out there that are more accessible than bands like Cannibal Corpse. Yeah, well, Cannibal Corpse are more accessible to some extent, but hey, at this point, I don't really care about their music anymore. It's like I've listened to the new album from last year, Chaos Horrific, and it still kicks a lot of ass. But how much longer do you think Cannibal Corpse can keep going, doing the same damn thing? Well, that's kind of what's, it's just sometimes the bands can only do the same thing for so long before it gets a little unoriginal and uninspiring, and it's very droll, and it's absolutely just, it feels like there's just nothing there anymore with some of these bands. Yeah, I know there are bands nowadays that are also, infusing other things into heavy metal, like, I don't know, D-beat is a thing, and then there's a new rise of new metal that's being combined with something else. There's elements here and there that are thrown into a witch's brew and, stirring the spoon and whatnot and crafting something either crap or something potentially legendary. But it's just, some of these ideas feel wrong, some of them feel trite, some of them feel just kind of not good. And then when we go back to the older bands like Sodom, who are potentially releasing a new album this year, if they do, that's fine. I might not even buy it, actually, because I don't care anymore. Their last EP was actually technically a re-release of all the extra tracks that were recorded for the Greatest Hell of Sodom anniversary album. I listened to the tracks from that EP, and it basically just sounds like an extension of that album. It's pretty much just the same, It's like the same quality, it's the same production, and I get this feeling of sameness definitely kind of appeals to some people. Sure, I get that, but at the same time, there has to be something more to it. There has to be something, better. Something, more outlandish and creative. Who the fuck was that? Something more outlandish and creative. And yeah, I know folks like Devin Townsend have, have pushed the boundaries and have just been this musical madman, a scientist, a mad scientist of heavy metal. He's been kind of crafting his own fusion of styles into heavy metal and whatnot. And he's just. I've listened to a couple of his songs, and I don't see it with this guy. I mean, yeah, I can respect a legendary artist or a legendary band when I see one or when I hear one, but when I listen to Devin Townsend's music, and given I've only listened to a couple of his songs, I don't get it. I honestly don't. Some of it may be interesting when you listen to the complete discography from album to album to album to album. Some of it might seem a little like I don't know, man. There's just, I can respect Devin Townsend for what he's been able to do, but out of the two songs I've heard from him, I don't really care for it, to be honest. And that's kind of a problem with me, because sometimes I tend to not dive into other discographies, like Anal Nathrach, industrial black metal band who has great material. I've heard some of their songs, heard some of their material. I think I've listened to at least one of their albums, and okay, it's pretty ambitious for what it is, like combining black metal with industrial metal and some other elements here and there. And there's definitely some originality there as well, but again, you can only do it for so long before it starts to sound a little too similar. So, well, it's like you've heard it before, but they're still doing it. You know, these bands are still doing the same thing, and it's just, there's just too much. It's too much for me to handle, and that's why I'm kind of done with it. You know, there's a lot of heavy metal that is still enjoyable, but there's also, like, I've had instances where I've listened to one album that I've listened to so many times already. I've listened to an album, and then immediately, like halfway through it, I get sick of it. I get sick of it after I've listened to it like 5, 6, 7 times before. Like Anthrax, they have an album called Worship Music, and yeah, that's their 2011 album. It's great, but I've already heard it a number of times, and this last time I've heard it, it was just like, you know, why am I even listening to this again? I've heard it so much. Same thing with For All Kings, their recent album. They're still working on a new album, and if they drop a new album, so be it. I'm not going to listen to it because I don't care. For All Kings was pretty solid for what it was. In fact, it supersedes the Dystopia album from Megadeth, in my opinion. As well as Hardwired to Self-Destruct by Metallica, but hey, that's just my opinion, so fuck off. But at the same time, Anthrax, I don't know if there's much left in the tank for them to, you know, keep on writing riffs and whatnot. Because sometimes these riffs from all these different thrash bands tend to sound the same. They sound recycled and, again, unoriginal. And it's the same with death metal, with bands like, oh, I don't know, 6 Feet Under, which are trying to, you know, do this whole old school thing, especially with the past 5 or 6 albums, it seems. But their recent album, what was their recent album? Killing for Revenge, I think is what it's called, this new album. I didn't even bother to listen to it because I don't give 2 fucking shits. It doesn't interest me. I've listened to the rest of their material, and most of it is just bona fide what the fuck. Their first covers album was alright. A little bit typical here and there. Their second one was just a kind of a death metal version of, what was that album from AC/DC? Back in Black. You can't take a classic album like that and turn it into a death metal album and expect to be taken seriously. It sucks. It really does. The third covers album, okay, it was kind of a return to form in terms of their covers, but also kind of not that great. And then The Number of the Priest fucking blows. It really does. And they had the audacity to compile these 4 volumes of Great Your Classics into a box set and release it for more money. Wow, 6 Feet Under. And this new album really is not worth my time, and I don't think it'd be worth yours either. You know, they really lost... They lost me when they released Nightmares of the Decomposed in 2020. That album fucking blows. It sucks so hard, it's not even fucking funny. I hate it. It's a literal migraine. That song, Migraine, is a literal migraine. A fucking of the brain, if you will. It sucks. And the rest of the album suffers, too. It's just... So... And I've heard a song off of the new album. I don't care for it. It fucking sucks. It really does. 6 Feet Under are more of a joke of a band than anything else. They're like this... joke death metal band. And yeah, I've heard some parody bands out there that are pretty damn good, like Cannabis Corpse, you know, who are parodying death metal cliches while also singing about marijuana and whatnot, and also keeping things somewhat original, but also adding their own unique spin on death metal. But at the same time, even that starts to sound unoriginal. everything sounds the same. It's absolutely fucking bonkers. It fucking sucks. Yeah, there's some black metal that sounds like the same shit from the 90s, and even the early 2000s. Even nowadays, there's black metal that sounds exactly like what it is, and it's just what is the limit here? There has to be some kind of limit before that limit is exceeded, and then you have to, kind of look at your band and look at your music and realize, we need to expand our horizons. And that's a big thing. Sometimes people are not willing to expand their horizons when it comes to listening to metal. Like, they'll stick with a few bands here and there, and then they'll kind of ignore everyone else. And I feel like it applies to the bands themselves as well. They'll play this style of music and then they won't do anything else. It's absolutely fucking retarded. I mean, if you look at bands like, Deicide, they've been playing their same brand of death metal for as long as, since 1990. Since 1990. And this new album, I'm not going to listen to it. I don't really care. Overtures of Blasphemy was not as good as In the Minds of Evil. In the Minds of Evil was not as good as, the album that came before that. And, other bands like Testament, there are limitations to thrash. There really are. And these past 3 Testament albums have been, oh my god, it feels like they kind of interchange a little bit. Like they interchange from these past 3 albums. It all sounds typical. And that is not a good thing when you're a metal fan and you want to listen to something that is, a little bit outlandish but still sounding pretty damn awesome. And Testament doesn't sound that awesome anymore. It sounds like they're just, Chuck Billy is a fucking beast when it comes to the vocal work. Yeah. But the music is just, it is what it is, It's the same tired, boring, exhausting riffs. And that's another thing. This type of music, just metal in general, in terms of, the heavy metal distinction and all of its subgenres and sub-subgenres, it all is exhausting to listen to after however long I've been listening to it. And that is not a good thing, That is a terrible thing, to be honest. There needs to be more originality, and I can't stress this enough. But sadly, I'm not willing to listen to anything new anymore from the bands I used to listen to. I will listen to the new Rob Zombie album when that comes out because, to me, he's a legend. At least in my opinion, he's a legend. White Zombie was definitely a great band for what they were able to do, what with the noise rock stuff as well, and their earliest examples of heavy metal, and also groove metal, then this industrial album. Everything White Zombie was able to craft was pretty fucking awesome. And it is, Rob Zombie continues the legacy of White Zombie in his music, even though some of his material starts to sound a little bit, some people just don't give a shit anymore. And I still stick by Rob Zombie's music, because, he's my favorite metal artist. There are other metal bands out there that are incorporating different elements into the genre and making it sound unique and fun. Like I said with the last video, Hanabi, female metalcore band from Japan. They are really kicking some ass. They really are. I've listened to their material and it's absolutely fun. I enjoy it. And I'm looking forward to the next album. Now, obviously, I'm proud of the collection I was able to, collect. I have a fuck ton of metal CDs. I have a small number, modest number, shall we say, of records, and I have one cassette tape. That's Hello, It's by Slayer. Wow. At this point, I'm kind of done collecting metal albums because there's just no point anymore at this point. I mean, yeah, I'll still collect an album here or there. I'll still collect a Rob Zombie CD or a White Zombie single CDs that came out years ago, just because, collective purposes, I guess. But in terms of albums from all the other bands like Creator or Destruction, or that's another band, Destruction, they start to sound the same too. It's ridiculous. Their past 3 albums, Diabolical, Born to Perish, Under Attack, what was the album before that? Spiritual Genocide. Those are 4 albums that start to sound, they blend together and they sound the fucking same. It's absolutely fucking stupid. I mean, yeah, it's cool for the Destruction fan who absolutely loves this shit, but at the same time, for me, it's just, where's the difference, Split the difference with me in the comment section below, and tell me what's new here. I've listened to Diabolical, and I even have the CD, and there's nothing new. They're using the same riffs, just, a different note here and there, or different lyrics. It's all the same. I don't care about it anymore. I only care about it enough to make, now 2 videos about it, and at this point, I just don't give a shit anymore. I don't give 2 damns. Heavy metal brought me joy for as long as ever since I got into it. And when at this point here in 2024, when I have the feeling that I am over it already, I've tried to get over it before, and it just keeps coming back. But now, it's time for the change to finally come full circle. I need to stop. I want to continue listening to J music, because that makes me happy. It's what I'm passionate about, alright? J-pop, J-rock, J-music, it makes me happy. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel something that heavy metal was never able to do, and it's something I am incredibly passionate about right now is J music. I love it. I absolutely fucking love it. I love it more than heavy metal to an extent. In fact, I actually love it more than heavy metal. I love it. It's amazing music to me. And yeah, I know some of it is a bit generic and a little bit similar too, but hey, there's still some fresh ideas thrown in here and there, and it is enjoyable music, so you should give it a try. Go listen to Haruka Tomatsu or Mad Kid, for example. Or even Trisail. They just released their 5th album last year, and I haven't heard any new news about Trisail releasing a new album or a new single anytime soon. So I'm a little worried that their album Super Bloom might be their last album, and that sucks. That really sucks. I mean, Momo Wasakura is releasing, she just released a new single, Libra, and it's obvious she'll be releasing a new album soon, maybe this year. But yeah, so. But heavy metal is, there's some influential bands out there that have influenced countless bands. And that influence starts to, wane a little bit when it comes to, bands these new bands that are using the same tired ideas left and right, and it's just absolutely fucking obnoxious. Sometimes sometimes it kind of makes me wonder if they're actually even doing anything in the studio. Yeah, they're still recording the material, But who's actually writing the material? I mean, sure, they might write the music themselves, they might write the lyrics themselves, but what's the inspiration? I'm not getting inspired by any of this heavy metal music nowadays. It absolutely, honestly, it's just, you know, while J-pop and J-music in general makes me happy, makes me excited, makes me feel good, I'm not getting good feeling from today's heavy metal bands. Not even from past bands. And that is a big problem. It really is. And maybe it's just a problem with me, but at the same time, you kind of have to look at the at this type of music and study it and realize, you know, maybe there's not much to it that's worth a damn anymore. I mean, really. Yeah, Judas Priest released a new album this year, Invincible Shield. I haven't listened to it myself. I might have heard one song off of it, but I haven't really listened to the album myself. And to be honest, I don't give a damn, because Firepower was incredible. It was better than Redeemer of Souls, and Redeemer of Souls, well, it had some good material on there, but it was still Firepower that really knocked it out of the park. And I fear that Invincible Shield might be not as good. Metal, in general, tends to be, you know, again, the whole similarity thing is a problem. And when a band starts to sound the same through each individual album, over and over and over again, and progressively getting worse and worse and worse, looking at you, Five Finger Death Punch, it starts to, it really worries me that, I mean, obviously I'm not going to say metal is dying or metal is dead, but it's definitely having a lack of relevance since, you know, I'd say since the past decade. Literally 2014, and then up here for 10 years now, it seems to be a decline in relevance, and that is not good. But at this point, I don't care anymore. I just don't want to listen to this. I've heard enough of it. I've heard enough of the albums. I've heard enough of the bands. I've all the news stuff that's happened with heavy metal as well, you know, sites like Loudwire or Blabbermouth or whatnot, having articles and whatnot to read. It's just, I've just had enough. I'm done. I'm fucking, you know. And if this pisses you off, well, too bad. This is my opinion. This is my video. Yours is fine, you know. If you want to make a video response, if people still do that nowadays, go ahead. Tell me why heavy metal is eternally great to you. Post some bands in that are keeping things fresh and also making things, making metal relevant. Still relevant. Post your lists in the comment section below and let me know if metal is still a viable genre of music, because nowadays it feels like, you know, it's just kind of you know, a reason for people to get out there and tour and be with people, and I understand that's fine, that's a dream, sure, but it starts to get a little cliche and it starts to get a little, you know, similar. I'm at a loss for words at this point, so I'm just going to drink some tea and shut the fuck up. Also, post in the comment section below why you think I should stop listening to J-pop. I'm not going to stop listening to J-pop. It's fucking great. Fucking great music. I love it. One of my favorite J-pop albums is Style by Akari Kito. It's her debut album. It's better than her second album, Luminous, and you can guarantee she'll be releasing an album probably this year, because she's already released enough singles. I can see her releasing a new album this year. Album number 3, I can't wait for it. Luminous was pretty good. It really was. It was more, I guess, poppy than Style was. But Style was just an incredible debut from Akari Kito. I love it. I really do. I have a physical copy of it, which is great. I have a physical copy of Luminous. I also have a physical copy of her EP, Kaleidoscope. Solid EP. No Continue is a great song. Check it out. Music video is pretty fun too. I could also recommend another album. Well, obviously I would have to recommend all 5 of Tri-Sail's studio albums, you know. Sail Canvas was their debut. Tailwind was my favorite. Is their second album. Try Again is their third album. Bon Voyage is number 4, and that has one of my favorite songs from them, from Tri-Sail of all time. It's Taga Tame ni Aiwa Naru. I'm pretty sure I did not butcher that. That was, I honestly don't know what that translates to. Oh well. I love the song. It's probably their most epic song, in my opinion. Most epic sounding song. You know, it's just so much fun. The music video is pretty cool too. And of course, Super Bloom, which only has 11 tracks. God damn it. They couldn't keep things consistent this time around. Oh well. So, but I feel like the album ended well with the song Flower, a digital single. I like it. I like it a lot. So, maybe I'll do a video entirely talking about J-music and why exactly I love it. I've already explained why I love it, because, you know, there's always a reason behind why an individual's love for a certain genre of music and why they choose to avoid other genres of music. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to avoid heavy metal because of stereotypes and whatnot. No, fuck that shit. It's just gotten too much for me to handle nowadays. You know, I'll be 30 next month, and on June 14th specifically. And I need to, you know, look at the genres of music I'm listening to and sort of cut back, because I have a list of my favorite genres of music of all time. And while I've already cut back a lot on the genres that I've listened to, because, you know, I've listened to material of like breakcore and other stuff like that, and kind of you know, dropped that after a while. Also dropped, you know, traumacore and other crap like that, as well as, you know, trance and techno. I haven't listened to either of that for a while, actually, but there's definitely some techno infused into J music, which is pretty cool. There's some great work out there. Remixes are fun. Yeah. Obviously, you know, I haven't really delved too balls deep into shoegaze, but the album that I actually did listen to was Hades. I can't remember the full title, but just Hades, by My Dead Girlfriend, which is a shoegaze band from Japan. Pretty damn good band. The album was released in 2015, and it's pretty good. I like it. It's just, it definitely rides on the emotions a little bit. It's a different experience listening to this shoegaze album than listening to like a thrash metal album. There are other bands from the shoegaze distinction But at the same time, I think My Dead Girlfriend is a pretty damn good band, I think. Actually, I believe. They're great. They really are. As far as other genres go, obviously I've sort of lost interest in Christian rock, as well as, other alternative styles. However, there is some pretty good alternative and indie rock out there from Japanese bands like Bandmate. They have been kicking a lot of ass. They really have. So have the Peggies, even though they're currently on hiatus, which, sucks. But hey, the music they have released, pretty good. I love it. Ashiato is one of my favorite songs from the Peggies. Kisoku Band, I know that's a made up band, but hey, they're still pretty good. Obviously Lenny Code Fiction have great material, and those guys definitely kicked some ass with the 2 albums they released. Seriously, it felt like they could have released an album in between Montage and, well, their recent album from last year. And, well, they didn't. So, Montage was released in 2018. I Want to Start Happy End was released in 2023. What happened? Well. And of course, there are other bands out there that release great music. I mean, obviously, Lion the Chameleon haven't released an album since 2020. They released an album before that. They only released a couple albums. What the fuck? I guess they're done, I guess, Mononoke in the Fiction was a great song. Very kick-ass rock song from a kick-ass band. Obviously, there are other bands out there of the rock distinction that I do enjoy, from either Japan or here. I still listen to 3 Days Grace every now and then. I still listen to Breaking Benjamin every now and then, even though I haven't really listened to them in a while. I still listen to Shinedown. Yeah, Shinedown. They're still pretty awesome. We can expect a new album from them in 2025, I think. It's possible. But I haven't heard any new info on that. So, and there's another band called Starset that I actually like. It's the whole cinematic nature of their music, combined with alternative rock, and post-grunge a little bit too. Yeah, that's another genre I like. Grunge. It's a genre that, died after the 90s, but it still had kind of bands that were still continuing on, like Pearl Jam, for example. And even Soundgarden, that is until we lost Chris Cornell. And there's just a lot of great grunge stuff from the 90s that was out there, like Mother Love Bone with their album Apple. Wow, what a fantastic debut. And Andy Wood wasn't able to see what it was able to do. Rest in peace, Andy Wood. I have a physical copy of the album, and it's just wow. What a grunge classic! Probably the best grunge album I've ever heard, and that's saying something, considering I've heard few grunge albums. I've heard Nevermind by Nirvana. I've heard 10 by Pearl Jam. That's another important one. I've heard, their second album, Versus. I've heard, I'm pretty sure I heard Facelift by Alice in Chains, and that was a pretty good album as well. Man in the Box is still a pretty awesome song. But yeah. There are other genres of music out there that I enjoy from time to time, but obviously, I've cut back on the amount of genres that actually listen to, you know? So, and I feel like it's time for me to cut back on heavy metal. And I've already done that, technically. It's like, I've only listened to a few albums here and there, maybe an EP or two, and then I just kind of stopped after that. And I have to go back and listen to a J Music album. And so, that being said, I'm over it. I'm over heavy metal. The change is time. It's finally time for that change to come full circle. And I'm sorry if this pisses you off, but hey, this is my choice, not yours. If you still want to listen to heavy metal, by all means go on. Go ahead and listen to heavy metal. Listen to all the bands you can. I mean, obviously it's impossible to listen to every single fucking band that's ever existed. Stoner metal has some great stuff out there, but also it's like, you know, and folk metal has gotten some pretty interesting material going on. You know, Ulver is a decent band. I like their first album, Bergpot. And there's a lot of bands out there. There's just so much, and that's why I'm kind of done with it. There's just bands being formed hourly, it seems, and it's hard to keep up with this shit, and it's hard to keep up with all of it. And this is possible. This is the truth for all genres. It seems like artists are being created daily and or even hourly, and it's impossible to keep up with it. You know, debut albums are being released left and right, here and there, and it's kind of, you know, at some point you just gotta realize, you know, what do I want to listen to, and you know, like, what do you want to listen to? Purchase the album, whatever albums you want to listen to, and listen to them. But you don't have to listen to everything, because it's impossible. It really is. You claim to listen to everything? I don't believe you, to be honest. You can't listen to everything and expect to be taken seriously, because it's just impossible. If music is your life, I understand that whole philosophy, but it can be a little ridiculous too, because musicians have every right to say that music is their life. Music is love. True. But at the same time, where does music go from here at this point? Where does it go in 2024 and going into the future? What's next, to be honest? Well, I guess we'll find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. Fuck. So yeah. But that's it for this video. You won't be hearing me talk much about heavy metal anymore after this video. So perhaps tomorrow I'll do a video talking about J Music and all the artists and bands that I've listened to these past 4 years. And, you know, obviously there's been some incredible work out there. And I love it. I really do. There's a new group called Fruits Zipper, and they just released an album this year called New Kawaii. Sounds kawaii, in my opinion. Kawaii obviously meaning cute, adorable. So, yeah. Post in the comment section below if you actually like J Music. I'm curious, you know, because especially when it comes to rock bands like Lenny Code Fiction or Bandmade, or there's a band called Mygo, or Pastel Palettes. Yes, that's a band. Ave Musica, Morphonica is another band. There are so many bands out there, it's hard to keep track of, but, you know. And also, there was a band called Stereo Pony, and their first album is my favorite. A Hydrangea Blooms, awesome album. I miss Stereo Pony, but, you know, at least their lead vocalist and guitarist, Aimi, released a single like a couple of years or so ago. I think it's called Yona Yona, and pretty awesome actually. It's pretty good. It's not bad at all. And yeah, so also put your lists, like, what the fuck, dumbass. Put your lists of, you know, what your favorite genres of music are, and how many genres do you listen to, and how many bands, how many artists, how many albums, EPs, whatnot, do you listen to from each individual artist, from each individual band, each individual group, each individual project, each individual album, each individual, you know, you get it, each individual genre. Because there's a lot of everything out there. There's a lot to listen to. And like I said, it's impossible to keep up with. It's just hard, you know. Sometimes it's hard to make a decision like what I'm making right now to stop listening to heavy metal. Because, you know, it's just something I've been listening to for as long as, well, since I started listening to Rob Zombie. It was my first metal artist I've listened to. And I'll still listen to his material. I'll still purchase his new album. But as far as all the other bands I used to listen to, it stops. It stops right here. It stops right now. So, because Rob Zombie and White Zombie are sentimental bands, for me especially. So, it's kind of hard to give those up, because, you know, they stick with you so long. So, there you go. What's your most sentimental bands? And post in the comment section below. Post a lot of stuff in the comment section below, apparently. And, yeah, let's have a nice civil discussion on music in general. And, you know, what albums are you going to consider a purchase? Let me know in the comment section below. One more sip of tea before I end the fucking video. So yeah. I'm just letting time pass, am I? Yeah, well, that's basically it. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I hope I didn't piss a lot of people off. Because at the end of the day, it's my decision. It's my opinion. Yours is fine. So, thank you for watching. I am TheZOMBIEJ. I'll see you folks. Have a good fucking day, and peace.